The Frankish King Charles, much better known as Charlemagne, is often called the father of Europe, and was even known as such in his lifetime. Most of the modern West European countries and peoples have their origins in this king, who lived somewhere between 748 and 814 AD. In my new series Ansburg A.D., he also plays an important role. Now let's find out who he was and what made him so famous. It's 747 or 748. The young Prince Charles was born in either Aachen in Germany or Liège in modern-day Belgium. The sources are not really clear about that. Either way, as one of two children to his father, King Pippin of the Frankish kingdom, he was a designated heir to the realm and born into an already rich and powerful family. The Carolingian dynasty began their career as the mayors of the palace to the Merovingian kings of Francia. As de facto prime ministers, they were the real power in the realm. The Merovingians lost power in their own realm for decades, to a point where they found themselves as mere figureheads. Still a mayor of the palace, it was around that time that Charlemagne's grandfather Karl Martel staged a coup that would bring his family onto the throne. This effectively created the Carolingian dynasty, named after himself. For a king to rule, he needs legitimacy, and to gain legitimacy he needs the support of the Pope. Now, clever as Karl Martel was, he sent a message to the Pope saying, should a king rule if he has no power at all? The Pope, himself in a weakened position in Rome, needed a strong ally and quickly agreed to a deal. Martel's son Pippin was later crowned king of the Frankish kingdom and named both of his sons heirs. When it was finally Charlemagne's time to rule in 768, he quickly ran into conflict with his brother, who was designated to rule the southern parts of the kingdom. Being the heir of a mighty newfound dynasty, Charles underwent classic training as a warrior, but was also educated in languages and general education. For his time, he was given a very good education. When his brother suddenly died, he was quick to seize the southern parts of the country, once again unifying the Frankish realm. The first military expansion of his kingdom took place only 2 years later, when the Pope in Rome called for the aid of his defender against the Langobard kingdom. In 773, he marched for his southern neighbor with 2 large armies. The Langobard king quickly realized his hopeless situation and fled to his capital. After 9 months of siege, he surrendered his kingdom. Charles quickly incorporated the kingdom into his own and added it to his own title, now calling himself King of the Franks and Langobards. Being not far from Rome, he also visited the Pope and renewed his father's pact with the Papal Church. At roughly the same time, wars with the Saxons that would last over 30 years began. The Saxons lived on the northeastern borders of Francia and had no established central rule, living only in many loosely connected tribal communities. They still believed in the Norse gods, something the Christian King Charles did not tolerate. The war started when a Frankish army marched deep into the Saxon heartlands as a reaction to a Saxon raid on the Frankish town of Deventer, which may or may not have been a false flag attack by the Franks. Charles and his army destroyed the central Saxon holy site, the Irminsul, a tree that the Saxons believed carried the sky. This would be just one of many marches through the Saxon lands, accompanied by much pillaging and slaughtering. However, the decentralized Saxon way of life made it difficult for the Franks to gain a final victory. To suppress and control the Saxons, Charles ordered mass conversions, founded churches and monasteries, and built fortresses. In 777, the Saxons rallied behind a single Saxon duke called Widukind, who attempted a kind of guerrilla tactic in opposition to the Franks. Still, they had little chance against the Frankish military might. Over time, Charles grew more and more impatient and ruthless against the Saxons' constant revolts. In 782 came the massacre of Würden, where Charlemagne ordered the death of 4,500 Saxons at once, an event that even in his time was seen as cruel and unjust. Still, it would take 20 more years to finally end these wars. With the consecration of Widukind, most of the Saxon resistance was broken. Finally, Through deportations, the establishment of Frankish settlements, and collaboration with the local elites, he managed to incorporate the Saxon territories into his realm. During the same time, Charles fought similar wars on the Iberian Peninsula and in the Balkans, and both stretched into equally long conflicts. In all cases, he styled himself as a Christian ruler fighting for the faith, though it is believed he had more worldly goals in mind. In 795, the Pope again faced political struggles, this time against the nobles of Rome itself, who were important for the papal elections. He fled to Francia and called for aid. 5 years later, Charles appeared in Rome, and on Christmas Day in the year 800, in the old St. Peter's Basilica, Charles was crowned emperor. This sparked an important development for the whole medieval ages: the succession of the Roman Empire by the Franks. Without knowing it, Charles set the foundation for the German Holy Roman Empire. Charles had worked for this coronation for some time, and a very weak pope gave him the opportunity he needed. Inside his realm, Charles initiated important educational reforms that laid the foundation of medieval European culture. The Latin language of the 8th century was almost incomprehensible, in both speech and writing. His reforms standardized this practice, with a clear hyphenation and readable letters. The Carolingian minuscule got established and can be seen today as the basis of the modern Times font. Eventually, religious life thrived in the empire and the production of books rose sharply. Many antique texts are only known today because they were saved in this time. Looking back on an eventful life, the ambitious Emperor Charles died in 814. Upon his death, only one of his sons was still alive and became the sole heir to the empire. Yet he proved to be a weak monarch and faced many internal conflicts. With Charlemagne's grandchildren, the realm was split into 3 kingdoms, from which later France and Germany would emerge. Among medieval rulers, Charlemagne has a lofty position, especially due to his legacy. His impact on history is viewed as unmatched by any single person. Throughout the Middle Ages, he was seen as the ideal ruler in both worldly and religious ways. The image of Charlemagne was glorified and romanticized, and many medieval nobles claimed to be descended from him. His nickname, the Great, doesn't derive from his times but was only given to him in the 10th century to emphasize on his ideal role model. In his life, the Frankish King Charles, Charlemagne, was a great ruler. He achieved much, and his impact on European history cannot be underestimated. However, he also was a power-hungry and ruthless king who used every opportunity to strengthen his own position at the expense of others. What do you think? Is his legacy justified, or did later generations make more of him than he truly was? I thank you for watching this video. With this video, I'm trying something completely new and try to explain the deeper backgrounds of my series. Did you like it? Definitely tell me in the comments. If you did, like the video and subscribe to my channel. A huge thanks to my patrons that so greatly helped me in working on my channel, and special thanks to KJ who worked with me on that huge script. That's it for now. The next video will be City Skylines focused again. Until then, stay healthy, stay tuned, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.